Something strange was happening in Minecraft throughout the summer of 2010. Updates were being released with no changelogs, unsettling noises began coming from below, and elusive sightings of digital cryptids rapidly spread across community chat boards. This is the story of how a little bit of intrigue spiraled out of control, directly leading to Minecraft becoming the global phenomena it is now. It also involves Team Fortress 2, if that's your thing. There's not much else to say, and I hate lengthy intros, so why don't we just jump straight to it.
Minecraft has exploded on the scene. Now, it's a game, if you haven't heard of it, it's like, imagine Lego on a much larger scene. The idea is the end dev, this one guy is making it so there's a survival mode where there's actual monsters going around, you build your own castle, you build your own...
Minecraft was originally meant to be a quick and easy solo project by an indie developer, and wasn't expected to be a major success. A few months into development, however, it had already been the most successful foray Marcus Persson had seen into the gaming industry, making him around 1 million Swedish krona. In USD, that's the equivalent of something like $5 or $10. With the game expanding far beyond its original scope, Notch cautiously decided to quit his relatively comfy office job to work on Minecraft full-time. But then Red Dead Redemption dropped like the next day, so it took a few weeks to play that instead. The community around this time was broadly split between two groups. The majority of players could be found on Minecraft Classic, as it was free to play, highly accessible, and had a flourishing multiplayer scene. Some of the first minigame servers popped up. You've probably heard of Spleef, and maybe Lava Survival. Others took a liking to building megastructures like a scale model of Earth, or this, which I don't even have words to describe. Others still just wanted to watch the worlds they joined burn. Classic can be described as the original vision for the game, where worlds existed as small, finite cubes, creative trumped survival, and multiplayer was prioritized above all else. Oh, yeah, and some players were furious that Persson took that 3-week break from development, just in case you thought our community acted any different than they do now. Those who actually paid for the game got access to a vastly different experience. Minecraft InfDev. In many ways it was a downgrade. Creative mode was removed, multiplayer was broken entirely, while bugs infested every aspect of the game. For many, this was a deal breaker, but to those who were willing to give it a shot, the introduction of infinite generation led way to a whole new sense of exploration and intrigue rarely seen in any other game. Blurry screenshots reporting strange brick pyramids far away from spawn popped up online, while those that tried using mods to reach the edge of the world instead found themselves trapped deep within a horribly corrupt sponge-like biome known now as the Farlands. In the beginning, this version of the game would breed speculation and mystery, while behind the scenes, Notch struggled to settle on the right look for the game. It was originally much like early Classic, before he experimented with difficult to navigate terrain, covered in dense, giant forests that allowed a never-ending onslaught of mobs, but finally decided to go with peaceful rolling hills that led to oceans and occasional islands. Ignore that foreboding monolithic structure towering in the distance. June 2010 saw updates become much more frequent. Players excitedly discussed the recent updates that added the likes of buckets, doors, and signs. Others suggested new mobs and blocks they wanted to see, but a select few began feeling uneasy, like they were being watched. A graphical bug common around this time didn't help, as it could be quite unnerving in the right conditions. But what if I told you something really was hiding behind the fog? Deep within the pitch-black caves, stalking inexperienced and wary players, it'd just take some time to reveal itself. On June 18th, Notch released a minor content update. However, when users went to check what was added, there weren't any changelogs. It was instead labeled a Secret Friday update. If you think about it, Minecraft has always had a very transparent development cycle with constant snapshots, pre-releases, and bug reports being publicly available. For perhaps the only time in the game's history, players were forced to go out and find what was added themselves. Some walked around aimlessly looking for new mobs. Others tinkered at a crafting table trying to find new recipes. Let's be real though, most of us would have just gone to the Minecraft forum to see what was new, which happened to be minecarts and rails. Next Friday saw a new secret update. While spelunking, players came across dungeons, which, once cleared out, allowed the mob spawners inside to be exploited in ways probably not originally intended. Saddles could also be found in chests, but since they only worked on pigs and couldn't be controlled, I guess it was doomed to always be useless. Another week went by, and a third Secret Friday update was released. This was the first update for the alpha phase of the game, so it had to be special, right? Well, players soon found a new ore type, this dimly lit red stone that took an obnoxiously long time to mine. However, at this point, there were no pistons, observers, or even repeaters. So you really couldn't do a whole lot with them yet. Just kidding, we all know how redstone programmers are. This one guy managed to make a 16-bit calculator with only dust and torches. I'm convinced this stuff is black magic, so let's just move on. Alright, we're 3 weeks in, and some of Minecraft's most iconic features have already been added. Interest was spiking after each consecutive update, and a community-driven hype train formed as people wildly speculated over what might be added next. But the game would dramatically change far sooner than anyone could have expected. Did you see it? That figure watching the player inside that cave, only to disappear just a second later? Maybe you didn't. But if you've ever played Minecraft, you certainly knew that sound.
Say the line, Bart!
Cave and monster noises were added right after the Redstone update, and it dramatically changed the vibe of the game. While the mob AI may have been just as helplessly stupid as before, they now had proper sounds. Zombies groaned, skeletons crackled, spiders scampered, and creepers were almost entirely silent. Until, well, you know.
Okay, let's explore a little bit. What the fuck is this?
Whenever a player is near unlit caves, there is an increasing chance that one of 13 cave noises play. They range anywhere from fairly innocuous to something you'd hear in a horror movie. Many have theorized what these sounds could mean, but the initial reaction for most is simply, what the fuck? When you consider that hundreds of new players were joining every day without much knowledge of the game, it is no surprise that many jumped to the conclusion that something was making these noises. The hunt for the cave dweller began. Throughout July, Secret Friday updates continued at full steam, and, they weren't that interesting in hindsight. So we'll just speedrun through the next few. SF4 added snowy worlds. They were pretty much the same aside from, the snow. SF5 featured cacti, terrible, awful, useless boats, and the return of Paul Spooner's trees, albeit much smaller. SF6 saw the introduction of cows and slimes. You could also find clay and reeds, which were used to make bricks and bookshelves. Honestly, if you think Mojang adds too many useless items now, the majority of these features so far had little to no purpose. But I guess it was a spice of life that gave these fairly desolate worlds a bit more depth and substance. All things considered, I'm really downplaying the significance of these updates. This was the most actual content added that year, and the, secret nature of it all gave off an aura of excitement when players were forced to actually discover what was added. Just to put things into perspective, since the start of these updates, Notch's income doubled, and his dream of being a full-time indie developer was practically secure. Speaking of which, did you know liking the video is the best way to support the channel? Just a simple like. You don't need to think of a very funny and original comment, click the subscribe button, or even join our page. A bombshell dropped in the days leading to the release of Seecret Friday 7. Two Valve developers got hooked on the game after seeing modders make Minecraft maps for Team Fortress 2. They decided to give the game a shout out on TF2's front page. And you can probably guess what happened. So, what did SF7 actually bring to the table? Well, we got chickens, completing the classic 4 farm animals we all know and love. Furnace minecarts, and what else? Well, if you were a player at the time, you'd probably just go check the Minecraft forum to see what else changed. Users were talking about jukeboxes and 2 separate music discs. Unwilling to go through the trouble of actually finding them in-game, you just look it up on YouTube. The first one, Cat, is an absolute certified banger. The other one, well... Disc 13 is my favorite of the 3 spooky music tracks currently in-game. It's far more subtle than the others that were added years later, and there's something quite unnerving hearing its story unfold through the echoing sounds bouncing off cave walls. Players at the time were terrified, fascinated, and/or deeply inspired by this. Some of the earliest Minecraft fanfiction was written based on the disc, but to be honest, I can't be bothered to read all that. The YouTube account Kerchak was one of the first to upload Disc 13 online, so it quickly became the first result you'd find when looking for the track. You might notice something weird about it though. That screenshot of a dark cave looking down into the abyss with a single pair of eyes staring directly at the player. Was the cave dweller just spotted? Reactions were mixed, with some pointing out it was probably a hoax, while others assumed it was real. One user, however, had a far more visceral reaction.
Jesus Christ, I can't do it. I can't take it anymore. I can't go back home. I can't go into my mines. I can't do anything anymore but slowly try and build something under the frozen ocean. And it's all because of 2 little pixels. 2 pixels. 2 white pixels. I haven't even seen them myself except in screenshots. I know it's there though, waiting in the mines, watching me from my tower's balcony while I'm outside. I can't see it through the constant snowfall, but I know it's there, and I know it can see me.
We've finally reached Endorphin's White Eyes myth. It's honestly not that great from a purely critical standpoint, but it was the first of its kind. Many discounted it as an obvious unfiction, some actually thought it was real, and still others took inspiration. The cave dwellers' legends spread like wildfire across the forums, changing hands a few times, until at some point during mid-August, it morphed into the original Herobrine creepypasta we all know and love. Its creator is still unknown, and it'll likely never be uncovered. You might be wondering why I glossed over so much throughout August, and that's partially because Minecraft's path to stardom was now set. But it's mostly because when forum moderators noticed people were having fun, they tried to nuke everything related to the topic, leaving us with just a few scraps to speculate over what actually happened. Despite this attempt to snuff out the myth, Copeland streamed his famous hoax on the 30th.
Him! He is him! Ah!
This elevated Herobrine to legendary status. At the start of the 2010s, Minecraft had just 4,000 sales. A decade later, it'd be the best-selling game in history. The Seecret Updates, Disc 13, cave noises, white eyes, and Herobrine were all the torchbearers of this. What I wanted to answer with this video is why. Why were these aspects in particular so instrumental? First off, the Seecret Updates were sorely needed. Notch may have perfected the gameplay loop and worldgen halfway through InfDev, but so many things taken for granted now were added around this time. New mobs and natural features made worlds feel less homogeneous. Redstone and minecarts created a whole new way to play, while winter mode was Notch's first experiment with biomes. Except for that, but we don't talk about InDev on this channel. Unfortunately, the pace of these updates would slow down quite dramatically and fizzle out as Pearson prepared for the next stage in development. But SF8 saw the long-awaited return of multiplayer, which, aside from having its own part in Minecraft's success, also allowed for Herobrine hoaxes to become far more convincing.
Okay, let's use a diamond.
The last Seecret update was uploaded on September 18th, which added the ability to sneak. You might know this better as Alpha version 1.1.1, but oh boy, I do not have the time to go over that whole story. Throughout all this, a combination of rising anxiety and the influx of inexperienced players quickly dominating public discussion of the game gave way to the mystery surrounding updates being treated with perhaps a bit more gravitas than warranted. But with dungeons, Disc 13, and cave ambiance hinting at the world hiding something much darker, can you really blame them? That of course brings us to the cave dweller, the White Eyes, him, and everything that came after. Conceptually, these are all basically the same thing, whether it be a secret mob smarter than any other entity in the game, row code that injects itself into a player's world,
Brisket.
the ghost in the machine. Really, it's just paranoid players getting spooked by a zombie off in the distance. Minecraft's digital cryptids are a manifestation of our collective unease. No matter how many times Mojang removes Herobrine, Buzzkills Online debunk him, or content farms ruin any kind of intrigue surrounding these myths,
Please take a seat.
new players will always find the thought of being watched by something, anything, a far more comforting prospect than the reality that they're entirely alone in a world that will go on and on and on forever.